Play that jukebox. Hello. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Welcome back to Restitching the Tapestry. We are on episode 179, and it is, as of this recording, Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. Mm-hmm. Ari, we're almost at the end of the year.
We're almost at the end of the show.
Yeah. Ari and I have been having frequent conversations about I don't want to say having an existential crisis over the show ending, but we're kind of like at this juncture where we're
really panicking about this. we're like, oh, this is really happening. We're really doing this. And I'm like, I need this, but like also at the same time, I'm like, we're really doing this. It's sort of like, have you ever been on a log ride, like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, or like where you get to like the edge of and like you see the drop and you're like, oh man, the edge is coming. We're about to go down.
Yep. No, that's exactly how I feel. I'm really hoping that everyone enjoys the final episode, which is going to be next week. We have quite a few things planned. We're going to be it's going to be a longer episode than normal. I think we were planning on recording for at least an hour and a half. But I am having an existential crisis, but I also feel very much like full and wholesome and satisfied. Because you know what? Damn it. We've done some good stuff over the past 5 years.
And I love every single one of our episodes that we do. I enjoyed them so much.
Me too. And just as an FYI, everyone, don't forget, while you can go back and rewatch them all here on YouTube, they are also on your favorite streaming services too. You can go on Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, all of those streaming services and watch or listen to our prior episodes. So, well, I guess, Ari, how have you been and what have you been up to?
Oh, goodness. So I had an amazing Thanksgiving. I did the turkey trot with my nephews. And then I came home and I cooked dinner by myself and I watched the Macy's Day Parade. And I watched the Lions football game and I passed out. And man, was that a brutal game.
I only caught bits and pieces of it. All I remember people were yelling about it.
No. So like 5 guys got injured from the Lions.
Oh my goodness.
It was a brutal game. I was like, and now this Thursday they're going against the Green Bay Packers. And I'm like, I really hope that they have recovered from last week's game because it's going to be another brutal game. And like, I'm hoping that they have like a closed dome game because it's snowing out.
Speaking of snowing, what's the weather been like there?
We've had so much lake effect snow. And I was like, I never thought that it would snow in November ever again because the last couple years have been kind of mild.
Mm-hmm.
So to have like such extreme weather this year has been interesting, to say the least. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like this. But apparently we just hit a cold spot and we've got snow now.
I know you guys have gotten a lot of snow over there. We're finally just getting snow here. We were getting like freezing rain earlier today too. And I was just like, here we go, batten down those hatches.
Yeah.
What have I been up to lately? We did Thanksgiving at my fiance's aunt's, which was really lovely. And then this past weekend I had my parents down and we did Thanksgiving, which was pretty good. And now that the new week has happened, I destroyed my stomach during Thanksgiving. So now I'm like trying to like at least eat a little bit healthier. And I have felt so much better.
Man, I did too. I went to my main building and people, the staff said, I bet people are tearing up the toilets for Thanksgiving. And I never laughed so hard because it was so true.
It's what happens, right?
She said, I don't know how many plumbers we need to call because people are.
It's funny. I never imagined that an issue, but I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah. I was like, I'm hearing the drama.
But beyond that, like we're nearing wrapping up the semester, so like that's been the only other thing I've been working on extensively. I've been doing a lot of cleaning. We've kind of had a mouse invasion in our house, so I've been like dealing with that.
Not a mouse house.
Like I don't like they all suddenly were like, it's cold out, let's go here.
You
And
are
our
not
cats are
the Ritz
oblivious.
for mice.
Right. Ari and I had a moment in the back too where we were talking about shows that we've been watching. And
so I was talking about watching the Cold Case JonBenet Ramsey case, and I said I am not making a murder board because that's how they get you.
And then I mentioned that I've been watching the new season of 1,000 Pound Sisters because I love them so much. But Ari remembered that like I used to kind of like eat whenever I would watch this. I don't know, for some reason it's just that's what I do. And what did we say? How did it happen?
You said I don't do that anymore. I've avoided that temptation.
Oh, and then I was trying to make a biblical comparison, and I was like, who is that character in the Bible who withstood all those temptations?
And I said, without missing a beat, you mean like Jesus?
And I died. I was just like, woo.
It was funnier. You had to be there, but it was great.
My 11-year-old Seventh-day Adventist self probably just eye rolled because he was studying his Bible every day. He was doing his daily devotionals every day.
Who's the character in the Bible that resisted temptation? You mean Jesus?
Oh, God. Not one of my brightest moments.
Only the main character of the Bible.
I thought the main character was... I thought it was Ruth.
Maybe.
No, we all love Mary Magdalene. She was our main character.
Mary Magdalene's all of our favorites. We love she did some oil treatments, some hand foot washing. She like showed up to like hang out with Jesus after he rose from the dead and was like, "Hey boy."
Oh. Ah, that's so funny. No pun intended. So are we ready for the show mission statement? It's your turn, Ari.
It's my turn. All right, here we go. Larity is excited for me to read the mission statement. Okay, here we go. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing.
Yep.
I love saying that.
Me too. I had a moment when I was doing the notes for today where I was just like, we're only going to be saying this one more time.
I know.
Oh, God. So, current event snapshot. There is a lot of stuff happening socially and around the world that warrants some conversation. So we wanted to carve out some time for that. The first major piece of news you've probably seen circulating is that the president of South Korea recently imposed martial law in the country out of fear that the opposing party was glorifying North Korean communistic ideals.
I didn't know that's why he was imposing martial law. I thought that something was happening with North Korea, and so that there was kind of, because I know that North Korea kitten. I know that North Korea was shooting off a lot of weapons recently,
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought that it had something to do with that. I didn't realize that it had to do with their politics and that there was stuff happening with the political scene.
Well, so it was I read some news reports, and apparently their their parliament, which is of course, one of the balancing powers that keep, authority in check, they were trying to overturn this martial law imposition, and the military was trying to prevent parliament from voting.
Oh.
So it was wild, and of course there were like millions of South Koreans protesting this too. So, and it feels very haunting a little bit, considering like our own trajectory even. So additionally, other things that happened, Trump recently met with Prime Minister from Canada, Justin Trudeau, and during this dinner, Trump joked that he wanted to make or suggested that Canada should be the United States' 51st state.
That's awful.
It's messed up. And he's continued to kind of hunker down on that joke. And he literally posted on his social media platform like an image of him standing on a cliff face, like with the Canadian flag behind him. Like, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what? I mean, haven't we been asking this of ourselves for 8 years at this point? So yeah, that's been interesting. And additionally, Elon Musk has been making a lot of commentary. He stated it will threaten to defund the ACLU because of the ACLU taking a firm stand like in favor of like civil rights and everything like that. And he did this leading up to, of course, I think it's a case surrounding transgender health or something to that effect. And we know that Elon Musk has a child who is in the trans community. So it makes me wonder if that's why he's especially
Elon
horrible.
Musk has, did you know Elon Musk has 18 children?
I did know that, yes.
And he has abandoned all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does not surprise me that he has probably one trans child out of all of the children that he has. It does not surprise me that he wants to get rid of the ACLU because he also wants to get rid of a regulation agency that regulates Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this man wants to get rid of a lot of things that are protections in place.
Right. And he also views it as like any limitation in his pathway toward getting what he wants, essentially, which is really horrifying, I think.
Well, and then you have things like The Economist, who will show pictures of him playing with whole industries like space rockets and cars and things like that, like they're toys, like he's as harmless as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
the thing about it is that he is quite dangerous. He has quite a bit of money and he has quite a bit of power behind him to do all of these things necessary in order to deregulate and destroy whole parts of our system. And so he is not harmless like a child. He is a very rich and powerful man
Mm-hmm.
who looks younger and has the ability to destroy our system.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, another major event that happened, Ari, did you want to talk about that one? The medical executive in New York?
Oh yeah, the United Healthcare. I think his name is. I'm not sure what it is. It's like Bob Thompson or something. He was shot. Is that what his name was? Um,
Let me look it up. Brian Thompson, yeah.
Brian Thompson. He was shot in New York today, um, and people were saying it was. There was a lot of conjecture about who it was that had shot him and the reason why he had been shot, but nobody knew specifically why it was. But there was a lot of conjecture as to somebody unhappy with their possibly like claims being denied or their premiums getting denied or their premiums being too high or something to do with their insurance. And it was somebody who was eating the rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I've seen a lot of commentary about like the fact that the other executives at that meeting really didn't bat an eye.
That is horrific to me.
And to me, it's just like, if that is not an embodiment of late stage capitalism, then what is?
That really truly is that
Mm-hmm.
they can watch one of their own get shot and murdered and be like, well,
And
we'll
then
just
carry
replace
on like
him.
nothing happens.
We'll just
Yeah.
replace him.
Yeah.
He's just a scapegoat for the system in place of because he's made a lot of enemies. We'll just replace him with somebody who will do the same thing.
Right. And I know we've shared a lot of current events that seem like really heavy. And being that we are, coming off the election and heading into the holidays, which for many can be difficult, I think that's why we wanted to do this particular episode. Because if there's anything that Ari, you and I understand this so well, the significance of social recovery. Because during this time, you really have to be making sure that you are monitoring your well-being, and that often involves social recovery, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to begin, like, what is social recovery specifically, and why is it such a big deal?
I think that social recovery is not just going out to a social event in person and meeting with people and then going home and recovering. Social recovery also talks about like in the online space and when you're like texting all day long or when you're having like a lot of because I've had this recently where because I've been talking to people on Tinder, you go through all day long and like you're doing your work and you have like massive amounts of people texting you and
Mm-hmm.
you have that socialization through texting even um, having that moment where you can um, de separate yourself from your phone or separate yourself in the online space and come back to yourself and
Right.
come back and separate yourself from the online space from social media and recover that way too. That social recovery is not just something about being out in public and going to the grocery store or going to an event or going places.
Mm-hmm.
It's about any form of socialization and coming
Yeah.
back from that to yourself.
I think those are some excellent points. I don't really think I understood what social recovery was until the pandemic.
Hmm.
And I always like kind of, I don't know, I feel bad saying this sometimes, but like because I do such a socially intensive job, like the pandemic was like that first instance or that first event where like I was kind of forced to scale back.
Hmm.
Like I was forced to not only be, isolated, but it also made me realize just like how depleted I actually felt.
Yeah.
That on top of like all the social media tumult at that time as well, like, I just, like, I felt such, like, this heaviness, almost a depression of sorts.
Yeah.
But, like, once I had more of that time to kind of, like, rebuild my bandwidth during that, stint, I completely realized, I was like, wow, this is me socially recovering from years and years of cumulative, like, taxation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exhaustion, even
Yeah.
just putting yourself into all of the work and the people and the situations, and even in the online space, just putting yourself out there, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Now, therapy has dramatically helped me, like, kind of make sense of it a little bit more, because I think we all have our own, like, little routines and things that we do, right, to kind of,
Mhm.
like, build on our social recovery skills. So, I mean, I guess that begs the question of, like, what is our routine? What is our social recovery routine, and how has it developed over time for you?
Um, I was just talking about routines because I watched a video about developing a routine, and I really found that I didn't even start like doing like having a set routine until I was about 30. That it wasn't necessary for me to have a routine and like start planning out my days and like
Mhm.
actually like doing like a to-do list where I had like an idea in my head where I was like, I'm going to wake up and this is what my day is going to look like. And I'm going to plan out my day, and I'm going to plan to, and even after, until I became disabled, I didn't even really plan to de-stress or like have those like downtimes in my day,
Mhm.
because because I was listening to Bob Roth, who's a big transcendental meditationist, and
Mhm.
he talks about like you do an activity and then you recover from that activity throughout the day. So like I'll do a stint of writing, and I'll write for like 2 or 3 hours, and then maybe I'll spend about 40 minutes recovering from doing that activity, because you put so much into that you need to recover from doing those activities. In the
Yeah.
afternoon, um, I'll take a nap. And the Western world always talks about like how naps are, so taboo, and like you're lazy for taking naps, and toddlers take naps, and why do you need a nap as an adult? Um, but doing those social recovery activities where you do an activity and then you lay down and like you rest throughout the day, especially as a disabled person, has really helped me maintain lower stress levels.
Fascinating. Yeah, like, I think for me, I've discovered this year, and then I'll talk a little bit about my routine in a minute. I've discovered this year that sometimes the best mode of social recovery for me is literally doing nothing. Like,
Right.
and we're Capricorns. I don't know about you, but I struggle with not doing anything. Like, I feel like I have to constantly be engaged, working, doing something creative, doing something productive. But I've never in my brain kind of realized that social recovery slash relaxation, however you want to call it, is actually productive.
It is. You're actually doing something when you're not doing anything.
hmm And so, like, over the years, my routine, my social recovery routine, well, it begins with therapy. So, in therapy, at every start to a therapy session, I have what I call my stats for the day. And it's called the DAPS scale: depression, anxiety, physical health, and social bandwidth.
As I'm getting messages.
The irony, right?
I
So, like,
know.
if let's pretend that this is a scenario where I am going to share my DAPS scale. Like, what is my DAPS scale for today? Depression wise, I'm at an 8.5, which is actually very good for me. Probably because I'm doing this with you. Anxiety wise, I'm probably at a 7. The end of the semester, stresses, etc. Physical health, I would say at a 10. I'm feeling pretty good physically today. And then social bandwidth wise, I'm at a 6, which
So lower number is bad, higher
lower number is bad, higher, like, so like on a scale from like 0 to 10, 10 being like stellar, 0 being like the 20th layer of hell. 6 for me for social bandwidth is actually pretty high because my baseline is like 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
But I know that was totally a tangent. But now, because I'm very much a compartmentalize type A person, now that I have created that scale, like I kind of check into that scale every day of like, what's my social barometer like today? Like, where am I at on that social recovery bandwidth? And that's how I've learned to kind of adapt my day around too.
That's really interesting because when you're in the mental hospital, they'll ask you questions of what is your depression at? And 0 is the low end of the scale and 10 is the high end of the scale. So if you're at a 10 on the depression scale, it's a high number and you don't want to get a 10.
I think I've taken some of those assessments before, and I remember, I think I remember that scale as well. I just like to switch things up.
I know, I like it. So when you said my depression's at an 8, I was like, Donny, are you okay?
Oh no. Oh. I'm so good at masking it. No, I'm not. Really, I'm not. But so now that I kind of keep that in the, like, my issue though is I do have that scale in my head, but the battle is not over obsessing about it.
Yeah.
Because I over obsess, right?
Yeah.
So now it's just, it is kind of like back there in the back of my mind, but I kind of like use it to kind of gauge my day. And lately, my social recovery routine has been to become a little bit more regimented, which applaud you, Ari, because I feel like you're a very regimented person. I am not. So lately I've been like getting up at like 7:30. That's early for me. Having breakfast and coffee. I will then, because we just bought a walking pad, I will walk on the walking pad for an hour, which has been nice.
I wish I could get some exercise in. You're doing more than I am.
That's like, so like, I think, well, because my job is so sedentary as well, I think that's been part of my struggle.
Yeah, that's a huge part of my struggle is getting exercise in during the day. Because I get my body gets physically strained when I do too much movement, and especially lately, I've been switching medications, so doing exercise has been really hard on my body.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get lightheaded and I can't do a lot of physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still trying to get physical activity in. I want to get physical activity in. It's just that I just haven't been able to.
Well, definitely check out a walking pad because those are like, it's probably been the best investment that we've made. We literally bought like a stand-up desk to go over it so I can literally work and walk.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Like it's been pretty nice. So now, okay, here's a big question. Does our social recovery depend on whether we are an extrovert, introvert, or ambivert? Oh, do you remember our episode we did on being an ambivert? That was one of my favorite episodes we did.
I think that the level of social recovery, like how much social recovery you need, because extroverts can go out and they can go in, like bam, 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 and like they're always like their social recovery time is less necessarily, and in a full introvert's social recovery time is obviously more. Like they don't like going out as much, but their social recovery time is probably longer.
Yeah,
And ambivert's probably somewhere in the middle.
I feel like that's where I feel like being that I'm rather ambivertish, I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes just want to crawl in a hole and socially recover, but other times like hanging out with a friend like this right here or going over to a friend's house.
Yeah.
Like if it's just like a low pressure scenario, like that can be very socially recovering. I know, like my fiance, very much an extrovert, way more, Ari, way more extroverted than me. His social recovery is actually hanging out with people, like doing something social together with other people. And I'm just like,
I have a later question that I wanted to ask you, and I thought that that was kind of interesting, because I asked talk about how does having a partner help with the social recovery process as opposed to being a single person. And so I think you answered my question is because he likes hanging out with people.
yeah,
So being in a relationship, it's probably like when you two hang out together, like when you come home and you're just, it's the two of you, it's sort of like you're recovering together and like you
kind of,
having that
yeah.
social recovery process together. Um,
So the interesting thing about that, I think that's a great question, by the way. Like in the scope of a relationship, I think, because at the beginning of our relationship, like I don't think that either of us were very good at social recovery, or
yeah,
at least staying true to our social recoveries, because we were adapting to somebody else's space, time, presence. And at the beginning, like for the first year or so, I really couldn't communicate when I needed to socially recover. Like
yeah.
I would push myself and push myself and push myself because I figured that's what he wanted me to do because I didn't ask, you know, and I would get depleted because, like, if you are an ambivert and you are with somebody very extroverted and you're working toward measuring up to their level of extroversion, that can be difficult for someone, right?
Yeah.
So after I finally learned how to communicate it, now he's like aware of that and like asks about it and like carves out time for it. And I'm just like, that is great. And likewise, he has communicated the same as well. And that's, I would say that Brit's been my catalyst for going over to a friend's house and finding recovery in that, because
Yeah.
I never used to be that way.
Oh, interesting. So like you found new ways of social recovering because of your partner.
Yeah, I think it allowed me to gradually adapt and find those different modes. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So, how, like, I guess we could also ask that question in the context of like other forms of relationships too, like friendships and like family relationships. Like, how do we, like, how
Um,
does one have that social recovery in those contexts?
well, I had a fight with my sister, and so I'm socially recovering from my relationships with my sister right now.
Mm,
I told myself that I needed a break from my sister for a while just to kind of like recover from what's going on from the situation. Um, so we're just kind of like feeling each other out and recovering from what's happened, and I'm not sure what the future holds with that with our relationship, but I think that we're just kind of taking a break from the situation for a little while and just recouping from what's happening, and I'm
mhm.
giving her a break because she needs a recovery from our relationship for a little while, just to kind of, because she's overtaxed at work and she's tired and she is busy, and so I'm just giving her that break that she needs so she can work on the things that she needs to work on.
I commend that though, because I mean, I'm sorry that happened first and foremost, but it sounds like though that you are very in tune with other people's social recoveries, like
Mhm.
hers, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's probably in any relationship one of the most difficult things to achieve, right? Knowing when to like anticipate when somebody else might also need social recovery, right?
yeah.
I know for me, after the election, I had to kind of like really socially recover from my own family. And I think because I was also being very openly like expressive about like my fear and frustration, that they probably needed that too, right? So I think it's interesting to have that like foresight, is that the right word?
Maybe forethought.
Forethought. Not foresight. We're not seeing the future. What am I talking about?
Same difference.
Well, okay. How long does it take you to recover?
It usually takes me anywhere. It depends on the situation. So if I just have, if I'm having like text conversations, sometimes it's just overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just need to go to bed and I'll talk to him tomorrow. I need to get some sleep and recover that way. If it's like a really intense event, or because sometimes I do like where I'll run a 5K, or I'll run like a 10K or something. And there was a lot of people there. There was a lot of stimulation. It was a lot of physical activity. I get emotionally dysregulated. I'm thinking about that specifically. It takes 2 to 3 days for me to get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, for instance, like I had a lot of stimulation with the internet, and I go through something that's like a psychotic episode, which is a lot of stimulation from people and situations and things. I go into the mental hospital, which does a form of social recovery therapy. And that is a form of social recovery because it removes all the stimulation of being in the outside world. And that can take anywhere from like 3 days to 2 weeks, sometimes longer, depending on the severity of the episode. So, because you don't think of being in the mental hospital as a form of social recovery, but being in the mental hospital is a form of social recovery therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It removes all of the stimulation of being in your social network. It removes all of the stimulation of being in social media and the outside world. Like you can't text other people. You can't look at your Facebook. You can't look at those things. It removes all of those obstacles and allows you to have that mental rest for a period.
I don't think we quite realize just how much stimulation that we're experiencing every day.
Yeah.
When you think about it, right? Like with access to technology, that in of itself is an astronomical amount of stimulation every day.
Yeah.
And like one of my kind of building off what you were just talking about, which by the way, I think it's great that you were kind of connecting it to your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think one challenge that I've been doing that I've had a conversation with my therapist about is scaling back on social media a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I don't really ever do. I don't really do that. And so like after the election, I had this conversation with my therapist where I was just like, I am exhausted. I am so mentally exhausted. I feel like I am being swallowed up by something. And she was kind of like, red alert, red alert. Like if you're feeling this way, then you need to create tools to kind of help yourself come back from that.
Yeah.
And one of my tools has been limiting my social media every day. Like I still use it, but I'm not like chronically online.
I have an app that puts a timer on my social media apps. So like every 15 minutes, I have a reminder pop up on my app that says, do you still want to be on this app or not?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I can limit it down to 5 minutes or 1 minute if it's really bad. And every 1 minute, I can get a reminder saying, do you still want to be on this app? And I have to push a button that says, yes, I still want to be on this app. And so that having to push that button like a little, monkey, like, yes, I want to be on this app. Let me be on my app. Okay. Makes me think about my social media usage a lot more.
Interesting. Yeah, so it like irritates you out of your social media usage.
Because sometimes I get so irritated that I'm just like, I'm tired of pushing the button. I just want to get off this app now. And so,
and isn't that ironic? Because that's all we're doing on social media. We're clicking links, pushing buttons. But then when we have to push the same one over and over again, it's like, nope, that is the breaking point for me.
Because sometimes it'll be like, why am I watching this video? Why am I looking at this post? This post is pointless. Like, why
am I doom scrolling on Reels or TikTok? That's my big thing.
And so in the middle of doing that doom scrolling, it'll be like, do you still want to look at this app? And I'll be like, no, I do not. Get me out of here. And there even is a button that says, get me out of here.
It's almost like it gives us permission to do so.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But really, we don't need permission to say no.
But sometimes I do. Sometimes I need that little, I was watching this movie that a friend of mine shared, which is called Hundreds of Beavers. And what it does is he had a little rope tied around his waist and he ran into the little wolf's den and he whistled and a bird hit the thing and would pull him out of the wolf's den before the wolves could attack him.
So the app is the little bird for you?
The app is a little bird that like grabs the rope and pulls me out of the wolf's den.
That is so funny. It's interesting. Like, honestly, I mean, one of our recent episodes was about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like apps like those are almost tools to help us create boundaries for ourselves.
Yeah. Because
when it comes to social media, I think many of us do struggle with boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember in like 2009, Ari, when we would be on social media and we would share everything.
God.
I just
photos of food, what you're eating, what you're thinking, what you're listening to, lyrics to songs, poetry, every single thing that you were doing all the freaking time, every day, every second of the day, minute to rise, from moment that you were awake to the moment that you went to bed. You made 20 posts every day, at least once an hour.
I have so many. Like, I do enjoy going back and looking at Facebook memories because I like going back and seeing what the stupid shit I was posting in like 2008. And it was just like constant like quizzes, assessments, and like, what Disney character am I? And, just posting things like, oh, well, I just cracked my neck. Ow. Like, and then I grew, as I grew older, I was like, do I have to share all that? Does everybody need to be constantly in tune with everything?
Now people just tweet every single second of the day. Or blue skies. They're trying to find a good word for blue skying now, or somebody said speeding, and I thought that was hilarious.
Not that. Whew. Oh, that broke me. But, I'm going to be honest, like, I still sometimes will have moments of weakness where I'm just like posting constantly. Like when I first got on Blue Sky, I think maybe it was the allure of Blue Sky being new to me. I was like posting every 15 minutes. I was just like, and then I was just like, Donny, come on. This isn't 2008, Donny. Like, it's okay to post once in a while, but not like constantly.
Sometimes I go on diatribes and I'll post a little bit, like one or two or three posts, and then I'm like,
I do love your diatribes, though.
I talk a little bit about Godzilla on my posts. I'm like, I talk a little trash. I talked about how there should be a Victorian age Godzilla fighting Moby Dick.
That's a brilliant idea, honestly. That is a brilliant idea. Oh my goodness. So, here's an interesting question. What is the difference between social recovery and self-care?
So to me, self-care, and self-care isn't like the capitalistic self-care where you purchase a lot of goods or services in order to make yourself well. Self-care is about giving time and energy and space to yourself and showing yourself kindness and showing yourself giving yourself what you need in that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
so social recovery is part of self-care in my opinion, but it's not the only part of self-care that you need, because
Mm.
self-care like involves like maybe like cooking yourself a good meal, or like sometimes it means like taking a walk, or sometimes it means like reading a good book, or it's just in that moment, what do you need that will help you feel better about yourself and the situation that you're in.
No, I think that's a great explanation. I kind of think of social recovery as being like this umbrella, and there are like subsections under the umbrella, self-care being one of them. Like, I feel like social recovery is the baseline actions that you take for your own well-being,
Mm-hmm.
socially and mentally. Whereas self-care is taking that baseline, running with it, and actually taking more significant steps toward that social recovery. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there I would say that there's like other things even under that too. Like there are like self-care could be like you were saying, like being kind to yourself, making time for yourself, rewarding yourself,
Yeah.
right? Um like gifting yourself something, doing something, going out and doing something you like. I feel like in the future, I was gonna be like, in the future we could do more episodes on this. God damn it.
I know you were telling me that you were writing down episode ideas the other day, and I was like, please do, because you never know when, like, maybe someday in the distant future, when I feel better about like making, because I just like think like maybe someday we'll circle back to this, and like we'll do this again someday.
I think so. Well, and I know Ari and I have been talking about it. Like, we don't want to like obviously make anything concrete because like we know this is an end, right? But that door is always opened.
Did you know that I have to socially recover from my water channel because people are talking about how I'm making fetish videos?
Oh my god, I saw your video about that. You were so mad. You were like so resolute. You were like, I'm not doing the audio anymore of me drinking.
I don't do the audio anymore. And she said that the fact that I defended myself about it was proof that I was doing it.
I'd be like, then why are you feeding in? Are you? I would be like, are you aroused by my drinking? Like, why are you even commenting on it?
I didn't understand. Like, I was like, so I have to defend myself. And I'm saying that in order to make sure that you don't construe my videos as being fetishy, I'm going to make sure that I don't have audio that includes those things in the future. That you saying that I know what I'm doing.
People are wild, Ari. The
People
fact that
are
like
wild. Like they wake up, and that's what I mean. I need to socially recover. This is what I'm saying, that like I come online and it's like people just like they just they just like type things, and they just like
well,
don't.
I think the fact that you and I also like now that our platforms have grown reasonably, I think we have to face like our own unique brands of ridiculousness. Like you experiencing that, like people like fetishizing your content. I had somebody comment in one of my episodes of Growing Up with Godzilla the other day being like, "You're hot. Are you single? Like you deserve a good man." And I'm like, dude, like ew, like stop. You clearly don't watch my content.
So I'm saying, like, social recovery, like social media, social recovery, like, no, please don't.
It's like a
Please
whole
don't.
nother category of social recovery, just socially recovering from social media itself.
Yeah.
But it's ironic because we also do love social media dearly.
It's true. Because it's like there's so many good things about social media. You meet so many good people, like our community on Restitching the Tapestry. There's so many good people in our community. But then like you go and then you get that like that one random person who just like shows up and it's just like, what?
Yeah. Or it's like if we're having a vibe, they show up and they're being like super like negative and like projecty, and it's like,
And trust me, if you're watching this video and you're like a regular, this is not about you. You
right.
are wonderful. You're amazing. You're fantastic. You're sweet. You're amazing. We love you. We love you.
Yes, we're talking about other contexts where we do like other videos, or maybe like even like a social gathering, right? Where
Yeah.
like you're having a vibe and then somebody shows up with the deliberate intention of like being like that
That
dark
that person, that
that
one
dark
person,
cloud, that person who is intentionally trying to weaponize and project
that random
something.
that random internet anonymous person who shows up and you're like, who are you? Where did you come from?
Well, and then like we know if it walks like a troll and quacks like a troll, what is it?
It's a troll. Troll in the castle.
It's so funny because like I do have some like colleagues who watch Restitching the Tapestry and who like watch my stuff, and one of them today was like, Donny, like some of the comments that you get in your videos, and I'm like, oh, that's just another day at the office. Like if I'm not getting a slur-ridden hate comment one day, I'm getting somebody trying to come on to me another. Like,
How do you deal with it?
I'm just like, I just put on my sunglasses and I'm like, you know what? I'm sailing the sea.
Sail in the sea.
I'm sailing the sea of social media, getting a tan, riding the rapids.
I need your chill. I need your chill about it. I'm not
Oh,
as chill
Ari,
about it.
I need your resolve and your ability to set boundaries. Like, I would benefit from that so much.
We're all growing.
In a world that's growing. So, well, okay. So, obviously, I mean, for Thanksgiving, did you have to do a lot of social recovery?
um, I was getting a lot of text messages. People were texting me all day.
I'm
I was
fairly sure
getting
I was one of those people.
no, that was fine. Like I don't mind. I didn't mind that. But it was like I was trying to sleep. I was trying to sleep. And I wake up and my phone's like bloop, 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 bloop. And I'm like, hello? Let me just hello? You ever see the Vine where the girl's like getting water poured on her face and she's like,
She's like,
hello?
hello? That was the most millennial thing we've ever referenced.
I was just like, I can't pick up the phone right now. My arm is too heavy. I have tofurkey in my belly and green bean casserole weighing me down like 2 pounds of green bean casserole. I cannot get to the phone.
Oh God, I had so much weighing me down. Stuffing. My mom made a pumpkin cheesecake. I ate like half of it in a day.
That sounds amazing.
Ari, I felt disgusting.
But was it worth it?
It it was worth it. Although I will say that I was having some bathroom difficulties for a couple of days.
By the end of the week, though, I've only gained a pound, and that's the joy. You can eat like a monstrous person on Thanksgiving, and by the end of the week, you've only gained a pound.
Love that. For me, social recovery. I mean, I didn't feel super depleted by the holidays necessarily. I mean, there was like that anticipation of like reconnecting with family after the election. I hadn't seen them for like a month. But it went well, and it was just good to kind of just break bread together, and you know, I got to see Britt's family, which was really nice because we don't get to see them very often. So it was lovely. It was lovely. Yeah. So as we near the end of this episode, which makes me really sad to say,
it's already over.
I know. What is some advice to people who still feel burnt out with their social recovery process? And what can they do to make better use of their social recovery / what are some things they can do to maximize the process?
First of all, setting boundaries. Set boundaries with people. This is me time. I'm going home, or I am home. If you have a cell phone and somebody's texting you and you're done for the day, like when it's time for you to go to bed and socially recover and you do not want to be texted anymore, put that do not disturb on your phone, or turn your phone on airplane mode and be like, done. I am done. No mas. No more. It's done.
Ooh, airplane mode. Like if it's like a social gathering, because I don't know if you're like me, like sometimes I tend to struggle with social gatherings. But if it's a social gathering you have to go to, find your quiet place. Okay. Like I know for me, my favorite place is the bathroom. Like if I'm at someone's house, I will just go sit in the bathroom for a few minutes, just veg.
I like doing Irish goodbyes.
Oh my God, I do that too, where I'm just like, oh, bye. Or just don't even say anything.
Don't even say anything. Just time to go. Time to go.
Are you ever at a social gathering where you're like, I gotta get out of here?
All the time.
I gotta get out of here now.
I'm like, it's especially, you always know when it's time to go because somebody will they'll say the magic words. And they'll be like, did you hear such and such said this?
And then you're like,
it's like, did you hear this drama? And it's like, I do not want to hear this drama anymore. It is, and like you'll see the Cinderella time on the clock. And you're like, my heels cannot take this anymore.
Click them ruby slippers. Oh wait, that's Wizard of Oz.
It's time. Cinderella has to go home. Running out the door. Time to go.
You can be Cinderella and I'll be Dorothy Gale.
I literally went to an event before where I was with someone, and I had, this is when I was still drinking because I don't drink anymore. I had a drink in me and I was a little tipsy, and I was talking up because it was an art gathering, like some kind of like art prize thing. And this person that I was with was in art prize, and I was talking them up, and I was like saying all these really nice things to them. And, I was saying nice things about them, about like how their art was and like all of this amazing stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we're walking around and like, he's like, oh, do you want something to eat? And we're like looking at this food, and it's just like, have you ever seen like the Bacchanal buffet? Like a Bacchanal buffet of just like, where everybody's like manhandled the tables, and you're just like,
oh, like one of those buffets where it's just like spread over the tabletop.
But like everybody's like touched all of the food. And so it looks like not fun anymore. Ooh, like everybody's had their germs on it. And this is like post-pandemic. Like everybody's touched all of the food.
I would have been teleporting.
Just like, I do not want to touch a single one of these germy foods at all. So, and he's like, do you want to go look at some art? And like, we were looking at art, and he said something, and he said like the magic words, and I looked at my clock, And I was like, it's not quite Cinderella hour, but it's close enough.
Speaking of that, I always have like an excuse ready to go. You know, which can be like a little, like it can be a little shady to have an excuse ready to go at all times. But like it'll be either be like I have to get up early in the morning, or I have a meeting. I gotta go. Or I've literally used I have to shit as like there was one, Ari. It was a party where I knew most of the people, so it was like okay for me to like admit this because I knew I felt safe with them. But I was just like, I was so exhausted. But my excuse, instead of being like I'm tired, was I have to go to the bathroom and it's not going to be pretty. And I need the comfort of my own bathroom because I don't want to destroy somebody else's. Sometimes a good shit is a key way towards social recovery.
I was just like, oh man. I was like, I gotta drive home and it's 40 minutes home. I gotta go. I'll drop you off. I gotta go.
Oh my God. My friends, yet another good conversation.
What time is it? Oh, it's Cinderella hour. Gotta go.
Oh. Irish goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.